Who's got a horror story? Come on, Love Miller, you must have one.
I have many. I'm just trying to think what is a horror, what is not.
Oh, it
It
can be
doesn't have to
anything.
be a horror. If it's even if it's just funny, you know. But you know, it's Christmas, so you are allowed to go a bit further than what you would
A bit
say
further,
in a
a
meeting.
bit further. I think maybe not like my personal horror story when back in the days before the COVID times, when we had those wonderful face-to-face meetings. I think my personal horror story was that we had a disabled candidate who walked in, like rolled in, and only when the person rolled in, I realized that the office is not prepared for the disabled candidates. That's like a horror story in the sense that you realize that the person is not able to reach out to the doorbell or open the door. And you're positioning the company being absolutely supportive for everyone. That's like when you're standing there, it's the door, opening the door, and you're just like sweating, having your face red and white, and you're like, yay, I have no idea what to do now, but we will fix it. And you're not even sure if the wheelchair once like goes through the doors or not. Luckily, like standards in Finland that everything is done that like wheelchair goes through. But after that, like the committee got a whole list of improvements that we need to
There
do.
we go. That is an example of
That's a
of
good
one.
example.
I had one of a I had one that I can share from my group of ex recruiters. That he had a contractor. He had a contract. Oh, great! We had a contractor that was going to an interview. Was left into the meeting room to take a test, and when the recruiter came back to the room to collect the chap for the second stage of the interview, he'd vomited everywhere and left. Died of embarrassment and left. Needless to say, he didn't get the job. That's an example.
That's terrible. That's terrible.
Yeah.
I think another one that like I hate giving rejections. I just hate them. Yes, Jean-Marie, sorry, I interrupted you.
No, I was just saying that we have Gavin Johnson saying, how about the time a candidate used the passing of his grandmother as an excuse for meeting and for the first time? And yes, that's right. We all had that.
Everyone has a recruitment story like that.
Yeah. That's right. Sorry, Ludmila, go on.
Yeah, no, like one of my personal terrifiers still after like being a decade on the profession, giving the rejections, and that was also before COVID times, but I was trying to make sure that I will give a rejection to candidate on the phone. And then what was my surprise when the candidate showed up at the door and they actually really wanted to hear that face to face. And then they were accusing that I'm the one that's rejecting them. And I was just trying collect myself and giving the valuable feedback why we're rejecting. There was also that like trying not to get beaten up for the rejection.
Not cool.
No.
Yeah, that's tough. That's tough.
Who else has got? Has anyone else got?
I don't have recruiter horror stories as much as I have candidate horror stories.
That can work as well.
Yes.
Go.
Go on.
One of my best, I would say my top story is a personal experience I had when I was doing my studies. I had to, as part of my studies, I had to do an internship abroad. So as any student would, I went onto Google and I typed in, because I'm in France, so most people try to find an internship in the UK. So I just typed in internship UK. I found this website. It was called Internship UK. Sort of like showed itself as an agency that would put me in touch with English companies. So I went onto the application form, which was 45 minutes long. 45 minutes to fill out an application form. So that's the first step. Then I think I didn't finish it. And then I was sent an email saying, oh, you didn't finish this. Can you finish this, please? So I was actually started getting back to me as to why I didn't finish it. So sending me emails. So I finished it. I had an interview, sort of basic phone interview. And then I was sent a contract basically saying, oh yeah, you can do your internship. Everything's fine. We'll do the contract and everything. And then I ended up in a tiny company in Kent So it's south of England, close to the channel. And then I realized once I got there that actually 90% of the staff of the company was just unpaid interns. So it was just, and there was no agency. There was no like internship UK agency. It was just them. They had a front. That would get them applications from all over Europe, from students looking to do internships in England. And then they would funnel all of those applications to this tiny sort of like tourism company. And basically, we were building hotel websites, and booking systems for them. And so they would have 90% of staff, which were unpaid interns from all over Europe. And the worst part isn't that. We were actually, so in this tiny city, which is called New Romney in Kent, and we were housed in houses, which we realized later on were actually owned by the owner of the company. So we were unpaid interns housed in buildings owned by our boss, and we paid rent. So we basically paid for our own internships through our rents. But it was like it was this crazy scheme built by this company owner where he would get applications from all over Europe for students, and everyone was like living together in those houses. I actually have very fond memories of that time because I was living with like 10 other young students from all over Europe. This was like, if you know the movie in France called L'Auberge Espagnole, which is sort of like this very mix of people with different nationalities. So it was like that. But the job itself, the company was a giant scam ran by someone who managed to attract students in distress looking for experience abroad. So yeah, that's my horror story.
I had one where it was actually me. I was 19 maybe, and I was going for an interview as a stockbrokers in London. And I arrived and didn't even know this kind of wealth existed inside people, like in their lives, right? One guy was having a Ferrari delivered, I'm not even joking, off the back of a lorry and stuff like this during the interview. It was weird. So I arrived, and it was for what they call a board boy. And you used to have to run around, and they'd be screaming out the numbers and the amount of money for the different markets. You'd be running around, writing them down, all this type of stuff. And one of them asked me to go and write my name on the board. Okay, just write my name. They all stop working, and they start goading me. I mean, calling me profanities that I can't, not even I'm going to say on this live, right? It's a charity event. But honestly, I couldn't believe in it again. Oh, you effing this. Oh, you seeing this. I was like, okay, what the hell? I found out apparently this was a part of the interview to see how you deal under pressure, which was really fun and nice. And then they asked me to go and get them lunch, which I proceeded to do, but they didn't buy me lunch. I finished the interview with, how do you feel about making tea for the team? I was like, you can fuck off. I'm not doing that. And they laughed. And 2 days later, I got offered the job. I didn't take it. And that's how I got into recruitment, because I didn't want to do that.
That's a very nice one.
Wild.
We are close to it, but we are close to this segment. Was quick as well, but I'd like to share one as well. And this is one from my first experience as a junior recruiter back when I was in Dublin, and I was a young recruitment consultant, and we had this client in which was in Ireland, and it was a call center, a technical one, and we were hiring French people or German people to go to this call center, and they were doing support for different brands of computers. And so we were basically looking for kind of geeky people who were good with tech and good with talking in French, who talked a bit of English, but basically native French speakers who liked tech. And so it was very broad and very open. Salary was not high, but it was an entry job role. And so we were sourcing the people in France, contacting the people, and they had to come over to Ireland. It was in a third city of Ireland. And they had to come at their own expense just for the interview. Then they went back home, and if the interview went well, they would be invited to come and since they will have some kind of relocation package. But the first interviews, it was at their own expense. And I had this candidate who was great and said, yeah, very motivated. So he comes to the interview. And then I have the clients calling just after and saying, yeah, we have an issue. The candidate is in the lobby and he doesn't want to leave. And I'm like, what? Why? So pass me the candidate. Because the candidate didn't have a mobile phone. So talk to the candidate. So what are you doing? He says, I'm waiting for their decision. But you just finished the interviews. I'm not going to give you the decision now. It says, yeah, but I put all my money into that ticket. So it's a one way. I can't go back. And I'm like, but maybe they're not going to give you the answer today. So what are you going to do if you know? And then he tells me, I saw an old abandoned caravan by the airport. So I think I'm just going to sleep there and wait for it. And I was like, come on, I hope he's getting the job. He got the job. In the end. But that was really crazy. Like the level of involvement, motivation, education, like it was like no other choice. I'm doing this. And I will end with that story.
That is fantastic. That is
That
fantastic.
is why you should pay for candidates' expenses for interviews.
Yes.
Exactly. But thank you so much for joining us on this. We're about to start the French hour now, aren't we?
Yes. So English speakers, we're gonna speak
right.
French for 1 hour, but we are welcoming you back in 1 hour, so you can come back at noon to for us. If you want to stay in French, you're welcome. But so don't forget to come back, and it's time for. Thank you, Ludmila. Thank you, Aurélien. And
Yeah, nice
it's
one.
time
Thank you so
for
much.
The French. John.